That was real interesting, Tom, and I really appreciate the information that you gave me, and I'm learning so much about pianos. I've been in the business for quite a few years, and you've really enlightened me in piano design and scale of what that is, and thank you very much.
Oh, sure, my pleasure.
One thing that I'm not quite sure about, and I know that customers, a lot of times they might leave a piano store and be a little bit confused, because there is a lot of piano brands out there. There are a lot of piano brands out there, and I just wondered if you could talk just a little bit about maybe not necessarily name calling of the different brands, but what to look for in a good quality piano, and perhaps the sizes of pianos, and maybe grand pianos in particular.
Okay, sure, be glad to. The number one thing to remember: physics is physics. God made it. It works the way that it works, and it works that way all over. We were talking about scale design. All right, when a designer sits down to put everything together for a new grand piano, they are dealing with the same set of mathematical, statistical problems that everybody in the world would have. So now let's see how this plays out. Everybody knows what a concert grand is. It's big.
Yeah.
It's a big piano.
Yeah.
The smallest concert grand would be 9 foot, and I think there's a Chinese model that goes up to 12 foot.
Really?
We have 10 foot 2 by a famous Italian maker. In piano design, when we get to about the 9 foot stage, in building and designing, that seems to have worked out fairly well for, first of all, being able to build it and deal with it. You have to move these pianos. Second of all, the amount of dynamic that's going to come out of that piano. So now on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got now pianos that are being produced that are like 4'5" in length, 4'9" in length.
Baby grands, or
well, we actually call them premature.
Premature.
Yeah, they're not even baby grands yet.
I understand.
A baby grand used to be about a 5 foot piano, and now they've gotten considerably smaller than that. All right, from the engineer's standpoint, I have designed 2 pianos. I have been through this process, and it's agonizing. I've been through it twice with 2 major manufacturers. And the agonizing part is, when we were talking about the piano having to produce all this frequency range, when you have a smaller piano, the bottom end of the piano, the bass, from the low tenor of the piano down to the bass, we start severely compromising the sound structure that we can get out of a smaller piano. And everybody's got that problem. I don't care what name it says on that fallboard. Everybody, because, like I said, physics is physics. You can't change it. So I'm not a real fan of the real small pianos, because obviously the larger a piano gets, the more dynamic range it has within its capacity. Because the compromise is less. Now, do you want the explanation as to where the compromise is, or what happens?
Let's take that. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
We got to produce the frequency. The shorter the piano gets, remember what I said when we were first talking about the mass, how much string mass there is. The shorter the piano is, to achieve that frequency, we got to make the string thicker. There is this kind of rule about piano string. When it gets to a point where it gets too thick, it refuses to act as a musical tone.
I see.
So anybody can experience this. Go into a music store, play the smallest grand piano that you can, then go to a piano that's, say, 5'5", and work yourself up incrementally. You will immediately begin to hear those differences. Now, sometimes people have space restraints, and that's acceptable. That's why they're making smaller pianos. Just be aware that anybody who says that they can build a 4'10" piano that sounds like a 6 foot piano, they're not telling you the truth, because they can't. In other words, Ted, if you could build a 4'10" piano that sounded like a 6 foot piano, nobody'd ever have to build a 6 foot piano.
Right.
And if you could make a 6-foot piano sound like a 9-foot piano, then nobody'd have to build a 9-foot piano. But guess what? You can't.
Right.
It's a physical impossibility. So I would like to, people that are going to look into this conversation that you and I are having, I would like to share with the general public and say, there is no shortcut. You will get performance that will come out according to its size. And that's just one of the facts of life about pianos and the building them. I know that smaller and smaller instruments are being sold, and it's all right. People are experiencing a great amount of pleasure even with these small pianos. But for any manufacturer to say that they have it over someone else and you're comparing like sizes of pianos, I make this comparison in my store all the time. And even though people will come to me and they say, well, we're not trained pianists, you know, that kind of thing. Well, do you have ears? Do you listen to the stereo in your car? When you picked out the home theater for your television set, were you able to hear the difference when he turned on speakers like this or speakers like this? I want you to think of this piano acoustically as one large speaker. And here's the treble end, and there's the bass woofer down there.
Gotcha.
That's how it works.
Yep.
And everybody has to deal with the same thing. You can't change these things. Do some pianos put out a little more volume than another? Yes, but that's everybody still has to sit down and try that instrument. Now, go back to the scale design that we were talking about before. As I told you, and this is very important, there are lots of recipes in which to create these waveforms. There's all sorts of things that you can do. Some, if they don't get the recipe just right, the piano does not have as much volume, say, as the next one. So there would be some comparisons that you could make between, say, one 6-foot piano and another 6-foot piano. And that's if that's what comes through to you, well, then I guess you found your answer.
Right. Right.
But now we have to put in the money aspect. So let's say you find a 6-foot well-known piano, and you like it, and I would say there'd be no reason why you probably wouldn't like it, because it's going to be a quality instrument. All right. So you play it and you say, well, yeah, this is really nice. Okay, you go to another person who's worked out another recipe, and it's just as good or it's better. One costs $25,000, the other one costs $9,000. Now, Dad's going to be standing there. What do you think he's going to do?
Take the 9,000.
Yeah, he's weighing this out. Like, well, you know, this one over here, it was maybe just a little bit better, but is it worth $25,000 versus $9,000?
Right.
This is the answer. You and I already know that.
Yep.
We do the same thing when we're squeezing oranges in the grocery store. We're looking for the value.
Gotcha.
I cannot find another instrument in the world, and I'm serious about this, that has a value like this piano does.
This Hallet Davis.
This has got old world scale design. They didn't mess with it.
Right.
It's not a modern sounding piano, very abrupt.
Right.
It's very full bodied, very open, and it's a very good interpretive instrument. And I'll put this instrument against anything equal size. Now you can't, look again, we got to go back to these sizes.
Right. Right.
But I'll put this piano against any instrument of equal size. Well, what I'm saying with a Hallet Davis, there is not a better value. There is not a better dimensionally able to put that type of color out. In other words, if your kid can't make it on this piano that costs less than $10,000, they ain't going to make it on anything.
Gotcha. No.
When you've listened to somebody sit down at a piano and play something that starts getting the goosebump effect on your arms, my friend, that's what this is all about.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, I have represented this piano for 10 years in my store, and I still get goosebumps when I sit down and play this piano.
Right.
And I know my customers get the same thing.